All right, we're back with some health tips. So, the number one thing that I can tell you on how you can take control of your health instantly is to check your breathing pattern. Relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, relax your chest, relax your lungs, and we carry so much tension with us. And so we're unaware of the tensions that actually creep in because of chronic stress. Life can be chaotic. Our lives are stressful. And the thing that can help you overcome that is to check your breathing pattern, to make sure that you're constantly breathing, because your breath is actually what can fill your body and break up these tensions that we bottle ourselves up with. And so even in intense concentration, we think that we're improving our concentration by locking ourselves up, but in fact we're counterproductive and we're seized up. And so taking time in your day to mindfully remind yourself to breathe is one of the most health beneficial things that you can do. And so let's take a few deep breaths. You can breathe in through your nose, of course, in through your mouth. They have different effects on the body. So the nose is a little bit more cleansing. Your nose regulates your temperature in your body. It regulates nitrous oxide, which is what opens up your blood vessels. So if you breathe through your nose, you'll have wider blood vessels. If we breathe through the mouth, it actually stimulates your fight or flight. And if you breathe through your mouth, you're constantly starving for oxygen, which isn't necessarily what you want to be. But also, there's mouth breathing that, especially in the Wim Hof method, you're breathing deeply through your mouth, so typically when you breathe in through your mouth, you're only breathing into the upper portion of your lung. And so if you take a deep breath like this, and you fill your entire torso up with air. This is a little bit different than... Can you hear that? You hear the difference? That's a forceful vortex of air that's coming in versus you straining for air like this. That's only into the upper portion of the lung. So there's a difference between the two types of mouth breathing. But when we breathe in through the nose, your nose it filters the air. It acts as a temperature regulator as well, which is unique. And it, like I said, it opens up your blood vessels. So different combinations of there's different techniques when we talk about mindful breathing techniques and things like that. So I very much practice the Wim Hof methods with the cold showers. My meditation teacher, S.N. Goenka, who taught Vipassana meditation, that's my core meditation. But very understanding that there's other techniques that you can apply, especially in Taoism. The internal Taoist methods of you can learn how to breathe and cycle your breath through your body. And so it's a way, these are internal exercises. So when you lift weights and things like that, those are external, get you strong, get you ripped. But internal, this is what cleans out your organs, cleanses the mind as well. So we're here in Wisconsin, starting to get a little cold, so you can hear my post-nasal drip. And so the breath work that we do, especially the Wim Hof method, it has been studied at Stanford University that it actually stimulates and activates your immune system. And so as we get into these colder months, to prep yourself for the cold, you have to go into the cold. It is certainly a test of will, but and if you say, I could never take a cold shower or jump into a cold lake, that actually shows how how frail your nervous system is. And so I'm all about adaptation. How can we grow the body? How can we maximize the body's potential? And we have to put stress upon it in order to protect it. And otherwise, we're at the whim of the environment, or at the whim of chronic thinking and things like that. So when we talk about, especially in Vipassana meditation, they talk about this idea of mastery of your mind. Your mind is chronically thinking. And so how can we calm that down? And in meditation, this idea of, I need to think of nothing, have no thoughts at all. Well, that's not necessarily the case. And that's not actually possible, because you can't shut your mind off, because your mind is always monitoring the outside environment. It's always monitoring the surface of the skin. And so when we talk about mastery of the mind, so you have your sila, your panya, and let's see, there's three sila. Samadhi. Samadhi is the mastery of the mind. That's the sila, samadhi, and panya. So sila, these are the precepts of Vipassana meditation. That this is morality. If you live a moral life, your mind will not be troubled with wickedness, I guess, if you put it into a Christian terms. Samadhi is mastery of the mind, and panya is wisdom. And eventually you gain wisdom over your mind, and this is how we live a fulfilling life. And so when we talk about how do we gain control over the mind, I guess the best way that I think about it is this old, it's a Zen saying that, mucky water settles on its own. And so if you have, water, and it's full of, debris and dirt and mud and whatever, and it's been stirred up because of the river or rain, you can't jostle that about and force it to settle. The river has to settle on its own, and the debris settles on its own, and so too the mind. And so if you try to force concentration, and if you try to force this idea of trying to shut off your mind, you won't get there. And so letting your mind run its course, let it think about all that it wants to think about. And that's when you have to prolong your meditation, allow this to happen. And this is how we get into a state of meditation. This is how we get into the state of calming your nervous system down. And so when you're on high alert, your nervous system and your the frequency of your brain is actually working it's on high alert. And so when we talk about calming, getting the body into a state of meditation, this is you arrive in the state of meditation on its own. You can't force it. And so when we talk about Vipassana, and so I'll talk about the idea of what Vipassana meditation is, but by no means does this give you the necessary training for the full technique. And so when you go to this course, the Vipassana meditation course, which are around the world. So S.N. Goenka, when he died, he was Time magazine wrote an article, and the title was "The Man That Taught the World How to Meditate," and I was grateful to have found this course, and it's a 10-day course, and they teach you step by step how to meditate, and there's many meditations that are, we would consider them superficial, superficial level of the mind, but this is getting to the depth of the mind itself. And this is to the depth of thought itself. And so when you talk about, transcendental meditation, they're very different. But this idea of, at the surface level of where your thoughts are, this is, your thoughts pop up like bubbles, like they come up, thought. And so when we get into the state of meditation, you're getting down and down and down and down to the depth of thought itself. And this is where we clear off past karmas, we peel off miseries, we peel off the suffering itself of life. And this is how this is the practice of meditation. It is very much a skill, and it's not. You should just be able to get into the state of meditation. You shouldn't feel obliged to do this. You should be willing to go into it, but you should be willing to go into yourself. And this is what we avoid at all costs is our true selves. And I'm still learning this myself. And so what's the technique of Vipassana? So the first technique is Anapana, which it translates to observation of your breath. So just becoming aware of your breathing. Like I said on the first thing I said, become aware of your breath. Okay, so you can take a few hard breaths to all right, where am I at? Okay, there it is. All right, and so the first 3 days of the Vipassana meditation course, you are focusing on this area right here. And so you're meditating for 5, 7, 8 hours a day, okay? And so you're seated. You can sit, I like to sit like this. You can sit in a chair, it doesn't matter. But the observation of your breath, Anapana, you put the awareness at the entrance of your nose, and you're just like a night watchman, observing the breath as it comes in through your nostril and out. And you're observing the focus is the sensation. Don't judge yourself, okay, I should have air coming in through my left nostril, but it's only coming in through my right nostril. No problem. This idea of yatha bhuta is as it is. You observe life as it is. And so as you observe your breath, if it's deep, it's deep. If it's shallow, it's shallow. But the first thing is to take inventory. Take inventory of your breath. It comes in. You observe the breath coming in. It leaves the body, but it's natural breath. Wim Hof is forced breathing, forced hyperventilation. So that's a different technique. Vipassana is observing nature, your body, yourself, your soul, the individual being as it is. Okay? So as you sit in meditation with Vipassana, with Anapana breathing, especially if the mind is agitated, you inhale, you exhale, and you're just observing. And when your mind begins to wander, of course it'll wander, especially when you first start your practice. It's gonna wander. The mind is wild. It just goes off on its own. And sitting quietly in silence, the mind starts to panic, like, okay, wait, there's something wrong, because we're so used to having stimulus. We're so used to the outside environment giving us entertainment. But also we're on high alert for danger as well. And so when we sit in meditation, being content with, I'm alive, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. This is all that there is. This is the moment. This is the only moment that there is. I inhale, I exhale. And this is what brings us to the present. Okay? And so that's the first part of Vipassana meditation, is Anapana breathing. Sit for an hour and observe your breath. You become so agitated but fighting through that agitation, fighting through that suffering. Oh, my body's uncomfortable. This is the practice of meditation. This is the practice of Buddhism, overcoming suffering, and if you can become content with just the aches and pains of your body, this will help you deal with the stressors of life. Okay, so what's the next step? So Vipassana meditation, it's an internal scan of your body. So Anapana brings you to observation of your breath, rooted in sila, morality. And then the next step is samadhi, mastery over your mind. And so when you become aware of the subtle sensations in this little triangle here, observation of your breath, bringing the air coming in through your nostril, and the air comes up into your nostril and it can come up into your third eye, so you can observe the air coming in. You almost like you can look up to your third eye, and then it comes out, and you're scanning this area right here. And you're not forcing it. You're always, as long as you're alive, you need to breathe. That's number one. And so you're observing the natural breath coming in and out. And so you're training your body to become aware of a very, very small portion of your body. Your body, the rest of you is still alive, but you're focusing your attention. And this is where we get into mastery of the mind. Focus your attention. Focus. Vigilant. Okay? Very persistently, you begin to expand from your nose, and then you begin to scan from head, and you scan all portions of your body. So as you're meditating, you put the attention on the top of your head, and in the same way that your nose brought sensation, you can feel the wind coming in through the nose. And because we are energetic beings, because we have a bioresonance field, your body is resonating at all times. There's nerve endings on the skin. And so when you begin to scan your body, okay, so you bring the attention to the top of your head, you're trying to observe the subtle sensation of tingling, energy exchanges, warmth, cold, itchiness, any sensation that you can find. And again, you're not forcing the sensation, you're observing. And so as you get into it, you observe the top of your head. Okay, so I feel, and you can even breathe into that area. So as you leave the nose from Anapana, you can begin to move your breath. And so you can move your breath to the top of your head. Relax your scalp. Relax your jaw. And now you can begin to feel the subtle sensations at the top of the head. Okay? And now you leave that area gently, no judgment. And now you come to the front of the scalp or any part of the body. You scan all the way down to the feet, the trunk, the torso, and it comes back up. And this is Vipassana meditation. It's you're scanning from the top of the head all the way down to the feet and then back up. And that's the practice. But you go body part by body part. You can free flow. You can just scan, inhale. I exhale, I scan my entire body for sensation. I inhale, I come back up. Or you can isolate it in the same way that you isolated Anapana breathing. You can isolate it. Okay, so now I put the attention on my shoulder, my left shoulder. Are there any sensations there? Yeah. And so again, and this, your body again is resonating. If you relax your shoulder enough and you breathe into these areas, you're breathing chi and energy and prana and all life force, but you're relaxing it. You're becoming aware of the nerve sensations at these areas. And so now shoulder, now come to your elbow, now come to the wrist, now back up, elbow, shoulder, chest. There's no need to rush. Shoulder, elbow, wrist, and then you can become aware of both arms at the same time. So you can isolate, and now you can free flow, and you can take a breath, and you can feel your breath going down your arm, and back up. And then it goes into the left arm. And this is how and then as you get deeper into your practice, you'll learn how to move your breath about your body. And so what's next? Okay, so then you'll put your attention on your spine, your entire spine, inside your body, all the way to the tailbone. And so if you're seated, you may not be aware of the weight of your butt on the cushion or seat or wherever you're sitting. But if I tell you to put your attention there, now you become aware of the weight. And so this is when we, again, mastery of the mind, samadhi. We are beginning to focus and move your attention. So now you can feel the weight of your hips wherever you're sitting. And so now you bring your attention to your upper back. In the center, in the spine. You can isolate, go left, right, along the side of your spine, but let's focus on the spine here. So you'll start on the spine. And now come to the middle of the back, thoracic spine. Now lower spine. Move your breath wherever you're trying to focus. So now breathe into your lower back. Your belly can expand, that's okay. Breathe down into your lower lumbar. And now come to the legs. Left leg first. Are you aware of any sensations? Again, don't force the sensations. Yes, you can move your breath down into here. This is how we move your breath throughout the body. And you can come up with all different combinations, okay? But when you're seated in a position like this, tension begins to creep in. I'm bent up, I'm pretzeled up like this, right? And so I'm starting to feel sensation here. And so this is when we talk about overcoming suffering. And so that sensation that I'm feeling in my knee, because my knee's been bothering me for a couple weeks now, the nerve impulse at the knee that's bothering me, I can feel this heavy, achy sensation in my knee right now. It is the same nerve impulse, the same sensation that you have at your nose. And you can feel that sensation, that subtle sensation of the wind coming in through your nostril. It is the same nerve impulse, but this is subtle, this is gross. This is macro, micro subtle, micro sensations. And so when we, this idea of overcoming aversion and craving, we crave what we want. We crave pleasure, we crave wealth, and this is all ego based. And we avoid, and we push away things that, pain, suffering, along those lines, anything that falls into that category. But overcoming and stepping back and just observing that this is just spectrum. Suffering and pleasure are opposite ends of the spectrum. But craving and aversion, I crave the nice, gentle, subtle sensations that flow through my body. That's really nice. I can feel my breath moving through my body. I don't like the sensation that I have in my knee. And so when we get into the practice of Vipassana meditation, you observe with no judgment of, is it a nice sensation or is it a bad sensation? There's no judgment. You're observing. And so even the weight that I feel in my hips is a heavier, more gross sensation than I do in my shoulders, in my jaw, in my neck. And so when you first start your practice, you're like, oh shit, I mean, this is very painful. I want to adjust. But the practice of meditation, the pain is the pain. No problem. And this is how we overcome suffering in our lives, is becoming content with suffering. And even Jordan Peterson, shoulder your biggest burden that you can possibly shoulder, and stumble uphill with your cross. These ideas, and this is all part of that. And so Vipassana meditation is non-denominational. You don't have to believe in Buddhism and Hinduism. The Buddha that we know as Gautama Siddhartha, which is what Buddha, the religion, they call it a religion, it's more of a philosophy. The religion of Buddhism was founded on this man. He was originally a Hindu. And so Hinduism, they say Buddhism is Hinduism stripped for export. And so the Buddha went through all the techniques in ancient Hindi practice and all these meditations and things like that. And he said, no, that's not the way. We don't need all these rituals. We don't need all of this. We don't need all of those, this extra, I can use the word fluff, but these are very ancient traditional rituals, especially in meditation, chanting, and using the word Om for meditation. The true practice of the original practice of Buddhism, Vipassana meditation, this is what the original Buddha taught, is you go into yourself and you scan your body with no judgment, with no hesitation. And this is how we overcome ourselves. This is how we gain control over our minds. And this is how we, the final goal is enlightenment. At the end of your practice, and if you take the first step, wherever you are in your incarnations, you will eventually get there. You have forever to figure it out. And so by no means have I perfected this Vipassana meditation, because like I said, it's a skill. And I actually find it very difficult because, I'm neurotic just like anybody else. I have anxieties and stress and things like this, but this helps to center me. And I've been practicing Vipassana meditation for 3 or 4 years now, but I lose consistently because your mind plays tricks on you. No, you don't need to practice that today. And so I guess helping to describe what the method is, it's more like I'm almost like trying to reteach myself the technique that I once learned. And so when we talk about Vipassana meditation, they say to sit for an hour in the morning, hour in the evening, and this is how we gain control. And so I've been sitting for a half hour now, and again, my knee here is becoming more and more tender, but I still feel like I can talk freely, even though I'm observing this. I'm able to move beyond it because I can feel subtle sensation and all the way into my foot. I can go above the area. You just observe it. And when it gets incredibly intense, you go right into it. You go right into the pain. Observe. You can breathe down there. And you become content with the pain that is. And I guess that teaches you a lesson about life. And so I don't know what much more I can say about Vipassana meditation because again, this I'm illustrating just the basic theory of this. But again, I went into the woods, into a silent retreat, and learned this over the course of 10 days. So for 3 days, we practice Anapana breathing, nose. And you're just sitting there observing your nose. And people think, well, that's fucking crazy. Well, a little bit, but again, it focuses your mind. Okay, I don't need coffee. I should be able to focus myself. Okay, but because the mind runs so freely, it runs so wild, and we're trying to silence the chatter of the mind, but it has to do it on its own. And the deeper you get into those 10 days, it does calm itself down, the mind, the chatter of the mind, and if you can push through the pain if you can sit through the pain and the tingliness, eventually if you sit for an hour, your legs, sometimes they'll go numb. But that sensation, that's tingling sensation. And you observe, no problem. You're observing this. And again, you're scanning head to toe, head to feet, feet to head. And you can isolate, but the more intense the pain gets, the more that the mind wants to run from the pain. And this is what we do in life. We, again, craving and aversion. We avoid all the things that we don't want. And we crave the things that bring us joy and pleasure. And that's all ego. But eventually, like I was saying, if you can sit here quietly in observation of your own self, your own body, observe your thoughts, no problem. Don't give them no mind. And just let them pass, and you're just observing them like the radio's on in the background. Your thoughts go by, go by, go by. Come back to your breath. Come back to the sensations. And so I heard, I don't know if I learned this at the course or whatever, but when your mind begins to wander off, imagine, and then you bring it back to your breath, and then it wanders off, and then it comes back. It's kind of like if you're making your bed, and if you have a cat, the cat just keeps jumping on the bed to just interrupt you and just, I don't know, try to piss you off or whatever. And then you take the cat off, put it on the floor, continue to make your bed. The cat jumps back up, no problem. Put the cat down, continue to make your bed. And that's how, when we talk about when your mind wanders, you're like, oh shit, like I should come back to my mind, come back to my breath. And then we begin to beat ourselves up like, oh, our mind is, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at meditation. That's not necessarily the case because this is how the mind works. And so just becoming aware with no judgment, the mind wanders, you come back to your breath. the mind wanders off into some new thought. I observe myself coming back to my breath. I observe myself leaving my breath. Okay, and there's a distinct difference. And so, like I said, this is a little bit about Vipassana meditation. But like I said, for the first statement that I made, the best health tip that I can give you is to become aware of your breath. Become aware of your breathing pattern. We become so seized up with our in our stressful lives that we live. And this Vipassana meditation, any meditation that you can come up with, it'll be beneficial to your health. But Vipassana meditation is, the original teaching of Buddhism. It's been a very beneficial thing in my life, and I'm still learning and becoming to terms with. I need to continue to deepen my practice, and that includes, the way that I live, discipline in my life, diet. All these things play into agitation of the mind, and if I am truly trying to gain control of my mind, master my mind, but sometimes I'm at the whim of I don't know, sometimes I can't even recognize some of the actions that I take, but I'm becoming aware, and I have this wherewithal to take inventory all the time. And I guess these are just some of the concepts of Vipassana meditation. Wim Hof is a completely different thing. I like that method too, because that I actually like to practice the Wim Hof, do 3 or 4 rounds of Wim Hof, and then practice Vipassana, because the Wim Hof activates the nervous system, and that helps you actually get deeper into relaxation. But true Vipassana meditation is you sit, you begin to observe your breath, you observe and scan your body, and that's the practice. And so when you go to the Vipassana meditation course, they don't want you bringing any other ideas to this. The Vipassana meditation is pure in itself, and that's the Dhamma, the natural way of living. Usually Dharma is translated to law, but it's not law in a Christian sense, or it's just these are just natural occurrences, natural phenomenon in existence. And so when we talk about the Dharma, this is just pure. You're approaching pure bliss, pure love in your life, and this is what you're trying to manifest with your breath, with your mind, with living through a moral life. And so the sila, so you have pana, so it goes pana tipa. You can chant these things: pana tipata veramani sikapadan samadhiyami. And so the first precept is I won't kill, I won't take pana, I won't take life. Second one is adina dana veramani sikapadan samadhiyami. And so I won't take what's not given, and so that I won't steal. The next one is kamesu michachara veramani sikapadan samadhiyami. And so this next one is it's usually translated to not to lie, but it's more about not to take not to false speech, but also like negative speech towards others, like racism. That's saying racist comments. That's false narrative. Like that's ill-willed speech towards others. It's not necessarily lying. So that's kind of a little bit about that. And then panatipata veramani sikapadan samadhiyami adina dana veramani sikapadan samadhiyami Kame su michachara veramani sikapadan samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikapadan samadhiyami. So that's the fourth one. Musavada veramani sikapadan samadhiyami. This is not to sexual misconduct. That doesn't mean abstinence. That just means you don't rape, don't pillage, don't take advantage of others. And this is, again, it's not all about abstinence. And so at the seminar, or at the Vipassana meditation course, obviously there's no sex, there's no drugs, there's no talking. But there's different forms of Buddhism, and so abstinence doesn't make you. You don't have to be abstinent to be a Buddhist or to be a good person. But taking advantage of others, or sexual misconduct, rape, these are all things that are just not good. And this will bring agitation to your mind. And so that's the fourth precept. And then the fifth one is Sura Maria Maja Patana Verimani Sikapadan Samadhiyami. So it talks about three substances. So Sura, Mara, Maja, Sura, Maja Patana, Sura, Maja Patana. So there's three substances, and so we actually don't know what they are because they've been lost in translation. So usually this is translated to don't take drugs or alcohol. And when you go to the course, you're fed strict vegetarian and there's no drugs or alcohol. And so again, these are all things that agitate and cloud the mind, drugs and alcohol. But there's, some of the more Buddhist, the more contemporary, I can't think of his name, but there's a lot of Zen Buddhists, which is more of a Japanese style practice of Buddhism. They sit a little bit differently, and they practice these same five precepts, but it's more that it's okay to have a drink, but you don't become intoxicated by them, because that's what clouds your wits. And so these things, again, these are all things that cloud your mind and pull you from your sila, your morality. Is it right to take intoxicants to cloud your mind? Well, no, because that pulls you from your meditation, and so you will become aware of that. What I think that was in one of Alan Watts's old videos was that just have a few martinis before you start meditating. It accelerates your practice about 6 months, and so it brings you, do that for 6 months, and you'll become aware that that's not the way to go about life. And so those are the five precepts, your five sila. Everything is rooted in that. That's your foundation. And so if you have a moral mind and you live a moral life, your mind won't be agitated. Okay, so don't kill people because you'll be thinking about, well, my mind is quite agitated, or I don't steal. Don't lie. Don't again, sexual misconduct, and then the drugs and alcohol on the back end. And so those are the five sila. And so if you have an agitated mind, you won't be able to concentrate on the sensations of your body, because your mind will be thinking of these things that are immoral. And so if you live a moral life, that centers you right away. And then the scanning of the body. My knee again is picking up. We're about 44 minutes in. This is usually in my meditation where I'm like, oh shit, like I don't think I can sit here much longer. But you have to push through, okay? And those are some thoughts about check your breathing. Vipassana meditation, it's a very, very beneficial thing. It's a pure practice. You don't have to. You can be a Christian and you can practice Vipassana meditation. It's non-denominational. You don't have to believe in any deity. It's not focusing on any think of Shiva and, asking Shiva for things. No. You're observing your body as it is. Yatha bhuta, as it is. And yeah, so these are some of the thoughts. And I guess I didn't expect to be talking for 45 minutes here, but journey on. And I guess thanks for listening.